Hello everyone. I hope that all of you are doing good. And I also hope that all of you are safe and positive in this situation. Okay, let's get into today's video. This video is part 2 of the summit in Unit 4 Pros for Standard 12. Let's have a recap of what happened in the previous video. Hilary and Tenzing woke up early and heated and drank large quantities of lemon juice and ate some biscuits with sardine. They removed the ice in the oxygen set and rechecked it and tested them. Hilary heated his wet shoes in the flame and softened it. Over their down clothing, they also wore windproof. They wore 3 pairs of gloves like silk, woolen, and windproof. At 6:30 they crawled out of their tent into the snow. They lifted the oxygen gear onto their backs. They connected up their mask and turned on the valves to bring oxygen to their lungs. They took a few deep breaths and then they started to move. Hilary and Tenzing reached the crest where snow bump was formed at about 28,000 feet. The ridge narrowed to a knife edge. Hilary took the lead. The soft snow was difficult and dangerous because of the slippery. Suddenly, it gave way because it could not bear the weight of Hilary. Because children, they were also wearing lot of gears and equipments on them, so it's already a soft snow, so it was not able to bear their weight. On their way, Hilary found 2 oxygen bottles in a tiny hollow which contained 700 liters of oxygen. They have been left there by Evans. The bottle contained several hundred liters of oxygen. Hilary continued to lead. Sometimes, when the portion of ice gave way, Hilary lost hope, but Tenzing encouraged him not to give up. Finally, they reached the firm snow high up. They chipped their steps and reached to the south peak. Let's see what happened after that. As their partly full bottle of oxygen got exhausted, they only had one full bottle left. Their apparatus got much lighter, weighing just over 20 pounds, and they felt a sense of freedom. There were no more ridges and no more humps. They had the feeling of great success and shook hands with one another. As his ice axe bit into the first steep slope of the ridge, their high hopes were realized. The snow was now crystalline and firm. Their high altitude boots and a firm thrust of ice axe sank halfway up the shaft, gave him a solid and comfortable belay. Now they have moved to 40-foot line of step and Hilary takes the lead and Tenzing belayed him while he worked. They took turns for one another while the other belayed him. The other challenge which was awaiting them was the overhanging ice cornice where it was large and very dangerous. In order to escape them, they have to cut on steps down where the snow met the rocks on the west. It was thrill for them to look straight down this enormous rock face. Even on the east was another great cornice, ran full 40 feet of the step, and it was a narrow crack between the cornice and the rock. The right bottom picture will explain it. Tenzing was left to belay him, and Hilary jammed his way into the crack. He sank the spikes of his crampons deep into the frozen snow behind him, levered himself off the ground. It was not easy. Hilary reached the top of a ridge. He stood firm and pulled Tenzing up. It was very difficult to climb. Tenzing wriggled his way and collapsed like a giant fish. There were giant cornices on the right and deep rocks of snow on the left. They had to cut down many humps. Time was passing and the ridges seemed never ending. Hilary and Tenzing lost hopes and their original zest was fading away. The journey was difficult and had till they reached the summit. These are the instruments that they used: the ice axe, ice hammer, and the crampon. Hilary took advantage of every little rock hold. Using all the force of knee, shoulder, and arms he could muster, he literally cramponed backwards up the crack. And then, for a moment, when he lay regaining his breath, for the first time they really felt the fierce determination that nothing could stop them from reaching the mountain top. It is not easy to climb the Mount Everest, especially when things were very rough and challenging. They found it very difficult to attain success in there. The ridge continued as before, giant corners on the right and steep slope on the left. The ridge curved away to the right, and they had no idea where the top was because it was a curve and they couldn't have any idea where the summit was. Time was passing by, and the ridge seemed never ending, and slowly a sense of doubt and hopelessness crept into them. When they had no more steps to cut, no more ridges to traverse, no more humps to tantalize, they had hopes of success. When he looked at Tenzing, in spite of the balaclava helmet, goggles, and oxygen mask, and all encrusted with long icicles concealed his face. Even though they were all fully prepared to face the cold breeze, they were equipped, they were wearing masks and everything. They had icicles formed in their goggles and oxygen masks. However, this did not disguise his grin of delight as he looked all around. So once they got on the top of the mountain, they could feel the sense of pride and success and happiness that no mask can hide it or disguise it. At 11:30 a.m., they reached the top. The ridge had taken 2.5 hours for them to climb, but it seemed almost a lifetime for them. Hilary and Tenzing could see from the top of the summit the giant neighbor Makalu to the east. That's the mountain. It was unclimbed and unexplored. Far away they could see the Kanchenjunga on the west of the range. On the west, the ranges of Nepal. The most important photograph was the North Ridge. It portrayed the North Kernel and the old route. So meanwhile, Tenzing made little holes in the snow and placed various articles of food. This was a belief by Buddhists that gods had their houses on the highest peak. So they devout Buddhists believe this, okay, that gods have their home on lofty mountain tops. So they offered their offerings there. So Tenzing offered food articles, bar of chocolate, packets of biscuits, and handful of lollies. While Colonel John Hunt had given Hilary a small crucifix, a cross, okay, a small crucifix, which he had asked him to keep it on the top, and he also makes a hole and buries the crucifix. After 15 minutes, he moved down the summit on the steps, wasting no time to crumpled along their tracks. The greatest achievement in the history of mankind was conquest of Everest by Hillary and Tenzing. They succeeded by risking their own lives. They had to pass through soft snow, which was slippery and dangerous at times. Time was passing, but they never gave up on their hope. The route was uncertain, they did not know where they were going, but they overcame such hardships. They had the strong willpower and high spirit which led them towards the success. And then after they were very tired but moved down to their reserve cylinders on the ridge. A few liters of oxygen left on their own bottles carried the extra cylinders down and reached their tent at 2 p.m. Time passed as in like a dream. George Low and Wilfred Noyes met them with hot soup and emergency oxygen. They crawled into the tent with a sigh of delight and collapsed into their sleeping bags. Now, not all adventures are exciting. Adventures are not to be found only on mountains. In our everyday life, there are a lot of Everest. We have Mount Everest in our life. Even now, this situation can seem like Mount Everest to us. John Hunt, who led the expedition, states that it was an unforgettable day. They had climbed to the top. There were shouts of joy, handshakes, and hugs for the two heroes. Their happiness and pride showed how these men had shared in their achievement that was brilliantly concluded by Tenzing and Hilary. The adventure was over. But we do have lot of Mount Everest in our lives to be climbed. In our every walk of life, man can conquer any height or depth if he persists with his undaunted spirit, guided by higher spirit and higher cause. Definitely, you and I can achieve any Everest in our life. That's the end of this lesson. I hope you understood the lesson. If at all you have any doubts, kindly leave a comment. Thank you.